Hello everybody, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of ghost buns, and welcome back to Bun Plays, where I continue to add numerous different games into the haunted gaming library. And once again, welcome back to Sonic 2. Today we're going to continue where we left off. We already beat the game, but it's time for us to talk about the extras, stuff that don't really fit into the main game, stuff that, most people won't be able to see because, not a lot of people are going to be doing some of this stuff, and some of it is important to the story. Other parts are just stuff that, fans of Sonic would know. Before we get started, though, something I did want to note, Philip told me that something to note about the Death Egg falling in the new animation from Origins at the end is that it's falling into Angel Island, which foreshadows Sonic 3 Knuckles, and we'll get back to that because, in Sonic 3 Knuckles, on the cover art, you can definitively see, the eyes of Knuckles in the background, and that's, a really interesting addition from Taxman. I think that was cool that they really tried to tie these games together, in Origins, try to get everything together. Although CD, they kind of retconned where CD takes place. We'll get to that next time. I haven't played CD yet, so I don't know why they would retcon it. But in any case, without further ado, let's get started with the extras. Saga! Alright, so normally this would be the point where I would show you guys how to, grind your coins, because in the last time with Sonic Origins, you had this exploit that you could do by going into the debug mode and grinding out the special coins so that you could retry the special stages. Well, I'm here to say that they patched it out. In the time between my last Sonic 1 video and this Sonic 1 video, they patched out the special coin exploit. So you can still get into debug mode and you can still access stuff, but they patched it so that, you can only access stuff from, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. You can access all the items, but you can't access the special coins and certain things. So, you can't really pick and choose what you want to have, aside from what is available in this menu. And yeah, you can still pick any stage, anything to do here, but they wanted to make it so that Sonic Origins isn't, extremely exploitable, and I get that, but they did it so quietly that no one talks about it. And when I went to do it for this extra video, I spent an hour. I'm just wait, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Am I going crazy? Am I going crazy? And I went through it 3 different times, but nope, they patched it out. You can have waterfalls, but you can't have this special coin thing. You can have all the different enemies, which is really cool. And you can even have the Super Sonic panel, but that's it. The other thing that they patched out is that if you activate Super Sonic in this area, it doesn't count. It doesn't count for the trophy. You have to actually earn Super Sonic the normal way. So, they patched a couple things out, and I thought, okay, maybe I'm losing it. Let's try a couple other things. Let's try going back in. And I kept trying, and it's not there. It's all patched out. So that's an addendum to the first video I made. Unfortunately, you can no longer do that in Origins, which is a shame. I think that, it's a perfectly valid way to do it. But now we're going to grind out some coins. We are going to grind out some special coins with Knuckles, because Knuckles is my boy. Knuckles is awesome. The way they do it is they use the Knuckles in Sonic 2 version. So you have the Knuckles in Sonic 2 opening there. And I love the differing model here. It's so cool. Something to note is that originally Knuckles in Sonic 2 was achieved by locking Sonic 2 on top of the Sonic 3 and the Sonic and Knuckles cartridge. Because apparently back in the day, they had this this thing where you could have Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic 3 was meant to lock into it, but you could do it with Sonic 2 as well. So Knuckles was kind of this big deal. He wasn't originally made for the game, and you can tell based on a couple differences in his moveset. But it was just really cool to get a chance to play with him since I haven't played Sonic 3, I haven't played Sonic and Knuckles, and I really wanted to get a feel for him. Right off the bat, I noticed something different, and this time it wasn't me being silly, because Tails plays exactly the same as Sonic, and we'll get into that when we talk about like the next primer. And yes, I am rolling this time around. Knuckles can roll, even though rolling is a myth. But the thing is, Knuckles has a bit of a difference in his control scheme. At first I thought it was his weight, but the thing is, he cannot jump as high as Sonic, and he cannot run as fast as Sonic. So as you play with him, you start to notice there's some things that are a little bit different. When you get to Aquatic Ruin Zone, there's a little bit of a trouble with him because you have these little like things that you have to try to jump over. And as Sonic, they're no problem, but with Knuckles, you have all this trouble. And even in this stage where you have the spring pads, I had some trouble like getting onto certain platforms because his jump is like halved. I like Knuckles. I like his glide ability, but he has, for lack of a better word, he has more weight to him. And yeah, like in control-wise, he doesn't, but because he doesn't have as high of a jump, it just feels like he's being pulled back down, and that's what really got to me. I love Knuckles. He's my boy, but playing as him to grind out some of these coins was a little bit of a trouble for me because, like, Aquatic Ruin Zone, like, immediately I had issues. Chemical Plant was where I was actually grinding out some coins because there's a special coin in, I believe, Chemical Plant Zone Act 2 where, like, within the first, like, couple seconds, you can just run and get them. But another way of just getting the special coins is just getting 100 rings in each stage, and once you get that 100 rings, then you get that extra coin. And for finishing the special stages within the time limit and all this other stuff, you automatically get a bunch of special coins as well. Like, it's not as fast as the debug exploit was, and I honestly wouldn't recommend doing this with Knuckles as much as I love him. He's my boy. I love you, Knuckles. But, like, getting that specific coin right there, that was tough. With Knuckles. It's easier with Sonic, and it's easier with Tails. Because Tails can fly, but I love Knuckles. He has the attitude that I enjoy. But anyway, Chemical Plant Zone Act 2, within the first few seconds, you can easily get one of those special coins. I'll show that in the footage overlay here, but that I give to Tifa. But yeah, that's a much better up there. So once you get all the coins maxed out, once you have, like, I don't know, I think 250 or something, we're ready for the Chaos Emeralds. The interesting thing about Emerald Hill Zone is that for the special stages, you, instead of, like, going at the end of the stage, in each checkpoint, there is a special stage. So you get 50 rings, and then you can find a checkpoint, and you can jump into this special stage. And I think the cool thing about it is that you can actually get all the Chaos Emeralds in Emerald Hill. There's just enough checkpoints to where you can do it, because there's 7 checkpoints in all of Emerald Hill Zone Act 1 and 2. Now, I prefer these special stages to the first games because I get motion sickness from the first game special stages. However, as you play through this, you'll start to see part of the problem. The first stage isn't that bad because, like, you need a specific amount of rings in the half pipe. You have to get them as you go. That makes sense, right? So the problem is, as the stages get harder, things come up without warning, and you won't know which side to go on until it's too late. And the ring requirements become so strict that it's like you have to almost memorize it. So the amount of checkpoints has increased, so you have more chances to get into these special stages than ever before, and I applaud that. At the same time, it is a little bit iffy that they make these so trial and error. Not the first stage, I got that first try. The other thing to note is the special stages, aside from the gray one, have the same color scheme as the Chaos Emerald you're going for, which I thought was pretty interesting. In any case, this is the second stage. This is where things started to get a pain. Like the first one, I'm like, I didn't have a problem. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. But now, like, you have all these hazards in the midst, and you have to figure out, okay, do I stay in the middle? Do I go to the side? I have to get these rings as they're coming. And because of the tubular design, you can't always see when the rings are coming up. You have to memorize where they're coming from. And that becomes a hassle pretty quickly when you have to, like, not enough rings. You missed 3 rings. You gotta start again. There you go. So you gotta keep going. And unless you memorize it, you know, and it's just like, it's one of those things where I do prefer these stages, but unless you know exactly where the rings are, like, sometimes it becomes a hassle because it's just like, oh, I didn't know that was going to be there. I didn't know the rings were going to be on this side. I didn't know because I can't see it. It's going so fast. And I like the idea of it. At the same time, it's very trial and error. And while there are more checkpoints and more chances, I must have tried so many times on some of these stages. Not the second one particularly, but we'll get to it. Stage 3, I died so much. And there, if you get hit, you lose your rings and you have to do it all over again. Well, I didn't know that thing was gonna be there. How would I know it was gonna be there, you know? Just trip over and stop running. I just barely made it for the second one. Okay, we got the blue, we got the purple. Now, we got 2 Chaos Emeralds. Now it's gonna get off the rails in a big way. First 2, I can see people getting past, no issue. But this next one, which is, you know, that's part of the reason why this is called Emerald Hills, because you can get all the emeralds in this one zone. But yeah, when you get to this stage 3, is where all bets are off. All right. You don't know where the rings are going to come from. Okay, and you have to contend with these hazards. All right, okay. Okay. I think we got this. But now it's on the right side. And then we have to keep jumping from left to right. And oh, no, it's on that side now. And now it's in the middle. Like, how would you know on your first try where these rings are coming from? And I only made it by a little bit over because of that. Like, I'm only 10 rings over. And that's the easy part of the level. I failed so many times. So we're gonna just zip past that point. But then you have to contend with this. You know, you have to know when to jump. Because of the tubular design, it kind of gives me a little bit of motion sickness, but you don't exactly know when you have to jump and where the rings are gonna come from, and it goes so quick that sometimes I'm just like, oh crap, was I supposed to jump then? Oh no, okay. But now we have the third part, and we have to get 40 more rings. And this is where I started to lose it, because you have to know to jump these giant rings, and you have to know exactly when they're supposed to come, and go back to the middle, and back to the side. Like, I died so many times just because of the rings, because between the amount of jumps required and the twists and turns, I was just like, what the fuck? Sonic, slow down. You're breaking the speed limit. So there we go. That's 3. Then it gets harder. It's like they keep throwing more into the mix. And it's like, I don't blame them for it, but thinking on it as a kid, not having retries, the amount of coins that you keep losing, it becomes kind of upsetting to think about how many people will just sit and memorize it. And you want to know the funny thing is, like, I played this again the same day on my personal account, and I managed to get it first try for every single one of them. This game has broken me, because, like, there are parts where you just have to know, oh, this is coming this side, this is coming this side. And I still managed to get it first try the second time around. Same thing with the frickin' Death Egg Robot. I managed to get him the first time, second time around. It's like, this is only hard because of memorization, and once you finally get a pattern down, like, oh, this one is focused on, like, jumping to the right. Like, how would I know first try that it would be on that side? Because it's on the opposite side of what you would normally think of for the tube. I don't know. I think Sonic is trying to mess with my mind here. I think Sonic is playing tricks. He's a tricksy little Sonic. But then once you get past that hard middle part on stage 4, like, this, you only have to get a few more rings. So, like, this last little bit is actually not as bad, although they are a little bit stingy with the amount of rings that you have here. They're like, oh, you only have to get 10 more rings. We're only going to give you, like, 20. But we managed to get that. We managed to get it. We just gotta not get hit. Don't get hit. Sonic Party, Sonic Shuffle, Super Sonic Racing. That's 4. Okay. Now it's gonna get harder. Now it's gonna get harder. Because, like, there was only 6 special stages in the first game, but there's 7 in here. So let's move down. And look at how close they are to each other. Like, the checkpoints are literally, like, right underneath each other. It's like, okay, Sonic. All right, let's do this. The other thing is that, like, some of these stages do hurt the eyes a little bit. It's not the I think it's the graphics that really hurt. And yeah, stuff like that, like, knowing they're going to be on the ceiling is just, like, you have to put the right amount of speed. And knowing that they're going to be, like, on the ceiling, on the side of the half pipe. And I get that, it's a half-pipe structure, so you want to go up on the sides, but there's no indication which side and where they're going to be. And in this one in particular, I spent so much just figuring out, okay, like, I have to, okay, center, okay, and then now I have to go up and then down and then loop the loop. So, Sonic, you're putting me on a roller coaster here. And regular, and then we have to go side, and then now we're gonna have to go upside down. For some of these, it's just like, Sonic, I know you like to go fast. I know this was the extreme 90s, but sometimes you gotta slow down a little bit because I can't keep up. I can't keep up. Now I know why my dad didn't play video games back then. Like, Mario was bad enough for him. He couldn't play Sonic. And in this one, you have to know that these are on the sides. I miss so many of these because it's just like, I don't have enough time to get to some of these rings in time. And then this one, I just barely got because it's just like you have the last little bit of loop-de-loop rings. Is Super Sonic Roller Coaster. All right, so we got all these Chaos Emeralds. I think the next one is the gray one, but I can't remember precisely. Like, I just know the feeling of dread that came with every single one of these. And we're not including all my failed attempts because that would take a while. We have a death count, but this is too much. So yeah, this is our next one, and this one is probably one of the harder ones. I don't think it was as bad as the last one, simply because the last one took me so many tries simply to memorize, okay, we have this and we have this, but this is a little bit more of an angular, tubular stuff, and then you have to wind in between the hazards. So I had trouble with this one for a little bit, but it's not the worst. The other thing is, like, it's hard to tell whether to jump over some of these hazards or not, because, like, sometimes it's better to jump over them, but sometimes, like, you have to go to the side, and I'm just like, oh crap, should I jump over them? Is that gonna be good enough? And there are times where, like, they're on the sides, and you just have to know that they're there. This is just trial and error, and I don't think it's bad, honestly, compared to the first special stages in Sonic 1. I don't think they're bad. I just think they're annoying. They're trial and error. They expect you to have played these games so many times and without the ability to retry. I can imagine kids being so frustrated. But then again, like I said, I managed to do it first try, the second time through, and it's like, yeah, there's a certain pattern to it that you get to notice, and you get to memorize. But imagine being a kid, all right? Imagine being a kid and playing through these for the first time, and it's just like, oh, I want to see what happens when I get all the Chaos Emeralds, and then you keep failing on like one of these final 2 levels, and it's just like, ugh. But then you get to the 7th Chaos Emerald level, and stage 7 is the easiest one, and it's like, it's kind of like a reward. It's like, we're just gonna give it to you. At the same time, it kind of feels like a slap in the face, because it's just like, hey, you went through all that hell? Here, have something super easy. It's like, why couldn't everything have been this easy? And I don't know why this is gray, because that's not the color of the emerald. In fact, I don't think any of the Chaos Emeralds are actually emerald colored, come to think of it. But this one is pretty easy. It's like you jump back and forth, and for most of this, you can miss a bunch of rings and still pass. They get you. You get pretty much most of your rings in the beginning of the stage, and then once you have that, they're just like, okay, you're good, because the last 2 checkpoints are super easy. And it's just like the first checkpoint, like this, I just kept jumping from side to side. It's like, okay, you've earned it. Just get another 25 rings, okay. And this part is a little bit tricky, because like you have to think, oh, I have to go on the opposite end, but still, it's more just jumping from side to side. Like, even not knowing where to go, I managed to get this pretty easily. Just from jumping side to side. And then the final bit, we're just gonna give it to you. We're just gonna give it to you because you just have to keep 190 rings, and they just have a bunch of rings scattered about, and you just gotta not get hit. And I'm just like, okay. I managed to win even if I got hit a couple times, because they just scatter a bunch of rings around here, and they're just like, all right, just don't get hit by one of the hazards. And while the hazards do fly at you, they aren't nearly as bad as like the rest of it. So yeah, I have to say, this is the easiest of the special stages, and I kind of wish they were all like this. But you know what? Guess what? We did it. We did it. We got all the emeralds, all those emeralds. We did it. Yeah. So now we can summon Super Sonic. We have unlocked Super Sonic, which is something new to Sonic 2. And off screen, I did get the trophy for turning into Super Sonic in Chaos in Chemical Plant Zone. So I'm just pulling this up here because I had to figure out how to do it. Basically, you need 50 rings. You have to jump and press triangle as Sonic, and you can turn into Super Sonic, and he is super fast, and he is invincible to pretty much everything except for crushing, and he is awesome. I love him. The only thing is, I don't think they designed it for Chemical Plant, because he has extra speed, he is super harder to control, which means like some of the precise platforming that you have to do in Chemical Plant is like, I feel like they expected you to get it in at least in the next stage, because while I still managed to go around certain hazards as Super Sonic, there are some points where it's just like, oh whoa, I can't even get that monitor, I'm going too fast, too much speed. And this part right here, I had issues because he's so fast. Although I did find this secret down here, and I was just like, oh, that's cool. But this specific section is a little bit slowed down because, like, Sonic, he jumps so weird, and he's not quite as I don't want to say fluid. He's not quite as precise as he should be. And it's like, some of the stuff is like, okay, I get why they didn't expect you to have Sonic be Super Sonic here, so that makes sense. However, in later stages, he's amazing. And even with some of this, like, precision platforming, I managed to get better with it as time went on. And I feel like if you get good with Super Sonic, you can understand how to actually utilize him throughout the level. But he's better in stuff like Hilltop Zone, where you're just blazing through stuff, and you go so fast through it. Like, Mystic Caves, he's amazing in, although don't get caught in the pit of death. But he cheeses bosses. Like, he doesn't take any damage. He cheeses bosses. Yeah, you lose 1 ring per second, but as you go through, you're gonna get your rings back again. And I spent like half this game after Chemical Plant just completely blasting through the stages of Supersonic. It feels so good. There are problems with it, like you don't get to use it in the final boss, which kind of sucks. It's like, I kind of feel like they should have at least let you have it in the final boss as a reward, but nope, you gotta do it first try. So I managed to do it first try. There we go. Take it for the first time, for the last time. Suck it, Eggman. Dr. Robotnik. And then we get the updated ending. And I'm gonna be honest, I like the original ending better. The original ending has Tails save him with the airplane, but here, because you unlock Supersonic, things are a little bit different. Like, Tails goes up to save you, but you're supersonic, so you can already fly, and I get what they're going for here, but I feel like it's a little bit undercut by the original ending. It's just like, well, he doesn't have to be saved by the tornado airplane anymore. He's just flying next to his buddy, and it's like, I love Tails, but I think it gives more weight to his scenes to have him rescue Sonic at the end. He's my buddy. He's my little Tails buddy, and it just doesn't have the same amount of impact that, oh yeah, Sonic's just super. He's awesome. Okay. So it's like, this is one of the few cases where I'm just like, well, I like getting Supersonic. I kind of prefer the original ending. So yeah, that's the true ending of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And we get, the special thanks, all the credits. There's a few more people here, presented by Sega, and we have Angel Island falling down into the island. And oh look, it's like the cover from Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Oh look right there. There's Knuckles in the background. I like how they do that. I haven't played Sonic 3, but this is something that Taxman added to this version of the game. And, this was pointed out to me by Phil, and I think that's really cool. I didn't notice it at first. But before we go, we have a couple things to do. We have a couple more coins, so let's see if we can unlock some stuff. You get a trophy for looking at some of the artwork and illustrations in the game. So that's a pretty easy one to get. But I just like all the different artwork that you can unlock just from playing through the game. And there's so many cool things for someone who's just a new fan of Sonic, just learning some of this stuff. And while I don't have enough coins to get everything, I haven't played Sonic Drift, but you have illustrations for Sonic Drift. Like, that's really cool. And Knuckles Chaotix, and like, there's some of the stuff just makes me want to play more of these games. And I'm kind of glad that, like, we're pretty much done with Sonic 2. I have the first impressions next, but next to CD, I haven't played CD. I don't know anything about CD, so I'm kind of intrigued by this series. This is like one of those series where I tried it out as a child and I was intrigued, but I didn't, have the technology. And now I do, and I'm like, I want to get into Sonic and Tails and Knuckles and Knuckles and Knuckles. But with that being said, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of buns. I just want to say, Sonic 2 is a lot of fun. Sonic 2 has a lot going for it, and before I end up, first of all, there's a couple things I did forget to mention. With Supersonic in the original version, simply jumping would activate him when you had 50 rings, whether you wanted him to or not. In this version, you press triangle when you jump, and you can choose when to activate him, and I like that. And the credits animation of the Death Egg falling was scrapped from Sonic 3. It has been repurposed and brought back. So that was actually pretty cool. Honestly, the thing that really gets me about Sonic 2 is it really reignited my love for Sonic. And when I played it, I think I want to say 5-10 years ago, You know what? I'm gonna pull up my PSN profiles to see when I actually got these trophies. So I completed, let's see, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in 2014. God, that's almost 10 years ago. And then for the Sonic Ultimate Genesis Collection, that was around the same time. That was 2018. But it was just like, you didn't have to complete the game, so I don't really count that. But yeah, that was basically 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago where I was just like getting into this game, and I played an inferior version. I think the digital version and the one that is on the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection does not significantly prepare you for what Sonic 2 is. And it's not just rolling. There's a bunch of other stuff that is included in the game that they don't tell you about. And yeah, rolling is a myth, but like, I have learned to appreciate so much more of this game from Sonic Origins. I am having such a fun time. And next time we're gonna delve into Sonic CD. First, we're gonna go back to the main channel with Sonic 2 First Impressions. I'm gonna talk about everything in depth, scripted, so I'm not rambling, but I hope you enjoyed this Bun Extras video as I talked about the nightmare it was to actually complete Sonic 2. Still worth it. Super Sonic's still worth it. Like, he cheeses bosses like nobody's business. But with that being said, I'm Zenith Warrior Princess, the cutest of ghost buns. Thank you so much for watching. See you for Sonic First Impressions for Sonic 2. And as always, have a fantastic night. Bye, everybody.